We'll just give, thanks, Alex. We'll just give it a couple of minutes, make sure everyone's joined.
Numbers are climbing.
Awesome. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for ApprovalMax presents payments with Airwallex. My name is Chloe Wilson. I'm the product marketing manager here at ApprovalMax, and I'm joined by James Scobie, our senior channel partnership manager at Airwallex. Hi, James. How are you going?
Hey, Chloe. Hey, all. Good to see you all.
Thank you for joining us, James. We really appreciate it. And we've also got Alex Kesselman from the ApprovalMax team. He's our product expert and solutions engineer at ApprovalMax. How are you going, Alex?
Not so bad, not so bad at all. Thank you for having me here.
No worries. Thanks for your time. So thank you everyone for joining us, of course, in the audience. And as you know, we're going to talk about payments with Airwallex in ApprovalMax today. We're going to discuss how to connect approval processes to a secure payment solution, eliminate breaks in the chain between payments, preparation, and completion, and being able to provide payment services for clients without needing any access to bank accounts, which is very handy. So we'll just go through a very quick agenda for today. So we're going to start with a quick poll where you'll be able to interact with those questions. Something will pop up on your screen and allow you to do that. We'll then go through ApprovalMax and give you an introduction for those of you who are not aware of our solution. And we'll jump in and do a similar thing for Airwallex as well. And then after that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty about the payments with Airwallex in ApprovalMax functionality. And we'll actually be doing a live demonstration for you all today. To wrap it all up, we'll do a live Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments and we'll get to them. And we'll also have some support teams on standby as well to answer any questions that you've got that we can't get to. Fantastic. So I'll hand it over to Alex to talk to you everything about ApprovalMax.
I think let's first start the polls and let's see what's our audience think.
Yes, absolutely. Can't forget
what we want.
Thank you.
You should be able to see the polls on your screen right now. Well, at least the first one.
Perfect. So we're asking everyone, who makes payments for you today? We'll just let you get some answers in. Awesome. Lots of answers coming in.
Well, that is quick. Typically, it takes like a minute to gather all the answers, but we already almost to 100%.
Perfect.
Nice. Good mix.
So, really good mix there. So we have a clear majority here of people who are managing their payments in-house. And a very close second, we have accountant and bookkeepers who are managing payments on behalf of their clients.
Let's run the second one.
Great. Fantastic. So our second question for you all is, why are you interested in making payments within ApprovalMax via Airwallex?
I like how our audience is answering, because that's exactly what I wanted to show today.
Very convenient. Perfect. So we have the majority selecting that they want to approve and pay in the one solution. And a second is wanting to streamline the way that they pay in multiple currencies. Very good. Well, now that we've done our polls, we can get into learning a little bit more about what ApprovalMax is. Alex, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you very much, Chloe. So in case you've never, can you put it on the next slide, please?
Sure.
In case you've never heard about ApprovalMax, let me tell you all about it and just a couple of words of what we're actually doing. So if we'll take a look on some of the companies out there, we'll notice that a lot of them are still using some outdated, redundant ways of approving their financial documents. Some are still using paper. Let's say hi from the dinosaur age. Some went a bit further and they start using emails. However, both of these options are quite not effective and not convenient enough. With paper, it makes perfect sense. Paper get lost, you need to store it somewhere, you need to archive it somewhere, all kind of different challenges. But with an emails, well, it might be a good solution if you're still a small group of people approving everything, you're 1 or 2 people within the team. But once your team is getting larger and larger, it becomes really a game of cat and mouse for you, where you need to send all of these multiple notifications. You need to keep track whatever been approved versus not. You need to know if the coding was correct and if you've actually gathered all the approval decisions before making the actual payment. And that's exactly where ApprovalMax steps into the game. Our main idea, our core idea behind the product is to create a multi-step, multi-level approval workflows. Let this phrase not confuse you. These workflows, it is nothing more than just a sequence of approval steps where you will assign specific values, specific rules to all of your decision makers within the team. And once we create this workflow, the whole process for our users becomes so much more secure and so much more convenient, because first of all, they don't need to have access to the accounting platform in the first place. But at the same time, they can do all of their approvals on the go via our mobile app or via email notifications or through the browser version of ApprovalMax. From an accountant perspective or bookkeeper perspective, ApprovalMax will generate an audit reports, which will show you who made the decision, why they made it, and when they've made that. If we'll take a look on the next slide, please. Thank you very much, Chloe. And let's talk a little bit about some of the key features of the product. I've mentioned already that the core idea behind ApprovalMax would be multi-step, multi-level approval workflows. We can work both on accounts payable and account receivable side. So you have a separate workflow for your purchase orders, for your bills, for your sales invoices, for your credit notes, for batch payments, vendor approvals, and so much more. But it is not only about the workflows. There's actually much more behind the scenes that can make your approval automation even more robust. Things like bill to PO matching, let's say. If you're raising POs and you want to keep track over your expenditure, you want to see what is your PO remaining balance, you can match all of your incoming invoices against the original POs. On top of that, in case you keep your budgets in Zero Budget Manager, you can enable a budget check-in feature, which will bring all of your budgets into ApprovalMax, and then your approvers in real time will be able to compare budgets against the POs and bills they're accruing. On top of that, there are some additional tools like fraud detection, audit trails, and of course, pretty much everything that I already told you is available in our mobile app. So that's in a nutshell what is ApprovalMax, but later on, I'll show you during the demo the way it all works. So I'm passing over to James.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. So for those that are new to Airwallex and haven't heard of us yet, Airwallex is a global payments business supporting clients to expand and transact internationally with ease. The business began in 2015, so coming up 8 years ago, and was looking to solve the problem of making payments internationally. As of today, it's since expanded into an end-to-end payments platform for clients that are collecting, managing, and spending across multiple currencies. So the origins of the business are quite interesting. The founders were setting up a coffee shop, which still exists today in Melbourne, Australia. And when purchasing the equipment and supplies from overseas, they were just baffled by the process and the time and also the cost that it took to make these payments. They were using traditional high street banks. It was quite expensive, each individual payment using the SWIFT network. And ironically, the founders had a background in banking and payments and looked to redesign and simplify how a business transacts internationally. So as of today, we now have a presence, actually not just yet, back to that slide. As of today, we now have a presence in all major markets, over 1,300 employees, and have been supported by some of the largest investors that you can see here. Next slide, please, Chloe. So to give you a bit of background about how we operate and how we go to market, as a business, we have over 50 licenses around the world that enables us to onboard clients globally. And we also have a deep network of banking and financial partners that are providing the accounts, the payment rails, and the products on our behalf. So a good example of this is Visa. So a big partnership globally that are providing our corporate cards and also for cards for employees, as well as lots of other tier one banks around the world. So we're the front end technology that is pulling it all together, but there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. One other key thing to call out is the security of Airwallex as well. So in the UK, we're licensed by the FCA under an EMI license, slightly different to a bank in that we don't have any credit products or pay any interest, but all client funds are guaranteed up to 100%. Client funds are all held separately in ring-fenced trust accounts, and we as a business can't use those to invest or use operationally at all. On the license front, you'll see some of the licenses that we hold here, but the business continues to expand and acquire new licenses as well. Just this month, actually, we just launched in Israel, and that will be our base for expansion in the Middle East. And we'll continue to grow our presence in APAC, which remains our sort of HQ, if you like.
As being an Israeli, that's a pleasure to hear.
Ah, very good. We had a launch party last week, so should get an invite. So on the product itself and what businesses actually sign up for as a platform, this is the best illustration to see how we support clients to collect, manage, and spend across multiple currencies. Some clients will use us for various certain elements of this, but other clients will use the whole product stack. So an example, if a UK business is looking to expand into the US, there's a need to get a local bank account. Perfect use case for Airwallex being able to set up overseas. They don't actually have to have a presence in the US, so they're able to manage it all remotely from the UK. Or another example would be a UK business that's just using our expense cards. So there's lots of different products that we provide, but certainly where we bring the most value is for those clients that are looking to simplify operations around the world and using Airwallex across multiple regions. So to dive into it a little deeper, on the collection front, on the left-hand side, we have an online payments product. So we have our own acquiring license to be able to accept card payments, more aligned to e-commerce and SaaS businesses. Once clients are collecting those funds, it will then flow through to the client's wallet or local bank accounts that can be set up around the world. Interestingly, in the UK, even getting a local bank account can be quite challenging in itself. So we support a lot of UK businesses that are expanding internationally, but also a lot of foreign businesses setting up in the UK for the first time. So high street banks, especially if you've got foreign directors or don't have a local presence, it can be near on impossible. So that's often the first action item of expansion. And from there, what flows is everything else that comes. So incoming, outgoing payments, and the FX. In terms of the treasury management, this is our proprietary FX tool. So once as a business, you are collecting multiple currencies with our wallets, there's the ability to convert those funds. It's a self-serve model, so it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And finally, we have our payout functionality. So for those businesses that are transacting internationally, you may be familiar with the Swift network. Similar to our founders when they started the coffee shop, it can become fairly slow and expensive, even in the UK, 10 to 20 pounds per payment. So using Airwallex's network, we're eliminating the use of the Swift network. So for UK businesses, we give you access to the faster payment network. That equivalent network or the local payment methods, we give you access in up to 90 other countries around the world. So payments are going to be far more cost effective, but also a lot faster. Finally, we also have, for other business expenses that are coming out, we also have a card network. So set up for corporate cards and also employee cards. These are in partnership with Visa, physical cards that you can, when you're out and about spending company funds, you're able to use these cards. So they are multi-currency as well. So particularly useful for clients that they may have foreign subscriptions, but more so for employees that are traversing the globe. And I even saw ApprovalMax. They are at a presentation at a conference in South Africa. So perfect use case there when you're booking flights in the UK, expanding into Europe and conferences in South Africa.
I'm doing that myself constantly. I'm going to Australia or to the UK or to the US. It's always my game changer.
Yeah,
my saver.
Yeah.
And for the employees, we also have a mobile app. So that is where clients are able to capture receipts, upload it into Airwallex, and then onto Xero.
Yes,
So
I love that myself, to be honest. You don't have to worry about carrying around all your receipts, and it's very easy to do your expenses.
Yeah, absolutely. So in summary, it really supports businesses that are thinking about going international, or those businesses that already have a presence in multiple markets and looking to simplify operations with an end-to-end platform that you can see here.
Perfect.
If you jump to the next slide, this is probably the best way to tie it all in. So a great example of how a business is using Airwallex to its full advantage is actually our good friends today, ApprovalMax. So as a business, ApprovalMax is collecting revenue from clients all around the world. They've got employees in different regions. They've got supplier payments going out in various different currencies. From a banking perspective, this presents a lot of challenges. You may have local banking in 2 or 3 different regions, but just being able to manage that from a central finance function has its complexities. Not only from a cost point of view, you've got lots of different prices and fees out there, and then also from a reconciliation point of view, it's if for those accountants in the room that are using Xero, being able to manage 3 or 4 different banks around the world is somewhat of a nightmare. And so there's lots of different benefits that ApprovalMax have been able to uncover. So with the solution that Airwallex is able to provide, being able to set up bank accounts, collecting funds, the FX conversions when needed, and the borderless cards that the team are loving. And so just to wrap up, in terms of the partnership, this is actually how this all came about. So it was actually at Accountex last year. We were having a chat with ApprovalMax, being able to talk to the platform itself, but then being able to take this partnership a step further and being able to provide or offer payments to ApprovalMax's clients, which Alex, we can dig into now.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, before we'll speak about the actual integration and the way it works, we need to think about different risks that businesses all around the world are involved if they don't have a clear and unified process of approving these payments and approving their financial documents. So the first one, requiring access to the client bank information and accounts might be quite a risk for lots of companies out there, because you need to pretty much give access to your banking details, to all of the money that you have within the organization. So having different process for applying and approving your bills and then managing that by the different team members that have different levels of authority might be quite an important thing to have. On top of that, unless the above is granted, not being able to offer payment services, also not quite great, because you're in that case just completing one piece of the cycle rather than just doing the full cycle of the accounting, starting from incoming all of the bills, approving them, making the actual payment, and reconciling them into your accounting platform. At the same time, there's some potential fraud risk. So let's say if you're using emails to send your bills for approval and for payments, these emails might be easily hacked, and you can receive phishing emails, which will look pretty much the same way as you would see it from the customer, but then it will include some of the banking details from the scammers. So therefore, you have to be very, very careful of what you're seeing and what you're paying for. And of course, the last challenge here would be manually managing your approvals of payments. All of the manual routine work, it's already an error-prone thing. So you need to do the routine task daily. You need to keep track on whatever been approved versus not. So there's lots of challenges, but mainly you're just wasting a lot of your time and money on doing those routine tasks, while you can easily automate that, make it all clear for everyone from the team and for your customer of what is exactly happening within your account. So now, with that being said, we can move to the actual introduction of payments with Airwallex. So it's an end-to-end solution which allows our customers to close the full cycle from entry point when we just received an invoice from our supplier, let's say by using Dext and then entering that into ApprovalMax. Then it goes. Yes, I see some of the users, some of the customers already raising hands. So once you receive those invoices, you can individually approve each and one of those bills, and then out of this create and prepare the actual batch payment. So you can decide what should be the beneficiary, you can select what should be the purpose, how much money you would like to pay, and then once you create the actual batch, you can submit it for approval through these multi-step and multi-level approval workflows. You can decide that based on the bank accounts or maybe based on the supplier. You can create a hierarchy of things But certain bill payments should be made by maybe just managers, then maybe with higher amounts, it should be approved by the relevant team members from the senior management team. And then once you approve the batch, it's going to be paid by Airwallex. So it will be automatically sent into Airwallex, transaction will be made. And after we've made the transaction, this will be automatically translated into our zero. So then it can be reconciled. So that's the full process from the very beginning all the way to the end. And it's all within one platform where you can have unlimited amount of users, and they will have very distinctive user rights on what they allow to see and what they allow to approve. So next slide, and I will pass it over to James to talk about the benefits.
Yeah, excellent. So just to clarify a few things, for any client that's looking to use the integration, they need to be a client of Airwallex to begin with. So there is a KYC process to onboard clients. They will have full access to the platform, so being able to create accounts, the payments, and use our cards. But importantly, when using the integration, you don't need to go on to Airwallex to actually execute those payments. Everything is done on the ApprovalMax side, and providing that the funds are in Airwallex and able to be executed, the batch payment will be able to be made across multiple currencies as well. So to touch on some of the benefits that Alex spoke of, so as an accountant or a direct client, you don't need to have access to various different bank accounts. One of the major benefits of this integration is being able to execute batch payments across multiple currencies. If you think about a client's bank account, they may have a UK account and then a different provider for a Euro or US. Not having to have access to all three of those accounts, you've just got the one Airwallex account. And even better, you don't actually have to go on it to actually execute the payment. Touched on the security, but it becomes a far safer way, being able to have it all approved by the right people. And then also from an automation point of view, you've only got the one solution that you're logging into, and payments are being made, which will then sync through to zero. And then finally, the fraud risk. So, you don't have, exactly who's approving the particular invoices, who's approving the batch file, and then executing that payment. Important to note that we also have two-factor authentication on Airwallex from a security point of view, which is also replicated before the payment's made on ApprovalMax. So yeah, touching on a couple of the benefits there.
Awesome. So I think now the best part, something I love the most, to show you the product in action. Let me share my screen. You should be able to see my screen. Let me know. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, I can see it. Hopefully the rest of the audience can.
Awesome. So in case you've never seen ApprovalMax before, let me give you a bit of a reference point first, what you're seeing and what you will be seeing once you'll start your free trial. You'll find all of your zero connected approval workflows. Today, I'll be talking mainly about the zero connected workflows. So you have a separate workflows for your purchase orders, for your bills, for your credit notes, for your batch payments, and for Airwallex batch payments, something that we're going to introduce today. Overall, these workflows, it is nothing more than just a sequence of approval steps where you will assign specific rules to your users based on the information that you provided from zero, let's say on the bank account or on the supplier level. So you have all of these separate workflows for different financial documents. Now, if we'll take a look on the Airwallex batch payment workflow, we'll see, and we'll try to understand the way this user interface works. We have two parts of the things. The left side of the screen would be how we're going to create our batch payments, who is allowed to raise those batches, and what type of things they're allowed to use during the batch payment creation. So if I'll add my requesters on the list, and if I'll take a look on my requester matrix, you'll see that you have several columns here. One for the bank account, one for suppliers, and the other one which will allow or does not allow your users to create new beneficiaries. So you can really assign very specific rules per your users. Let's say for John, he won't be allowed to create new beneficiaries, and he can only raise batch payments for suppliers that matches ApprovalMax and ApprovalMax GmbH, while I'll be approving and making requests for any bank account, any suppliers, and I will be allowed to create new beneficiaries. Click on done. Now the right side of the screen, that's where all the magic happens. And that's where we're creating our approval steps, and that's where we define rules per our decision makers. The first one would be an auto approval step. So let's say certain things can be automatically approved and sent for payment, maybe utility bills. you'll be able to create a list of those things that should be automatically approved and sent for the payment. Maybe utility bills, everything that is less than maybe £1,000 from the supplier. Let's say it's going to be, well, let's go, it's going to be Siemens. Doesn't matter in our case. Click on done, and now we can move to the part where our actual humans are involved. At the moment, I have only one approval step, which is called financial controllers, and I have myself and Sivara who will be approving things. If we'll take a look inside, based on the different bank accounts. Whether we're approving now any amounts, doesn't matter if it's £1 or if it's gazillion pounds, it will still go to one of us here. In case we would like to create a hierarchy of things, we can always click on a plus sign. It will create an additional step for us. Let's say this one will be financial or maybe CFO. And we will add someone else who will be approving bills on behalf of that particular step. And let's say Veronica, she'll be approving all the bills that are over or equal to 100,000 or 1 million pounds. So in that case, we will create a hierarchy and ladder of these different approvers, making sure that only corresponding people, only people who is relevant to that particular request will see that and make their approval decision. Now, the last part of that cycle would be to make the actual payment into Airwallex. Since we have this two-factor authentication, only the users who has 2FA active will be allowed to make the actual payments. So you can add all of those payers here within ApprovalMax, and the actual payment will be made within ApprovalMax. So then send transaction into Airwallex, and then you will receive the actual, then you will send the actual money to your supplier. Once it's all done, just confirm changes within your workflow or activate the workflow in case you're just starting with that. And if you are set as the requester, you'll be able to create a batch payment within ApprovalMax. Create a request, add those bills that you would like to include in your batch for the payment run. For instance, I can group it by a supplier and I can select all the bills from ApprovalMax GmbH. Click add on all of them, and now you have a list of everything that you wanted to pay. So here, one important thing, since I've allowed myself to work with any beneficiaries and I can also create a new ones, I can take a look on the supportive documents here, maybe an invoice that our supplier sent to us, and then I can create a new beneficiary. Provide general information, what type of receipt account type it should be, let's say business, provide payment method, provide some bank and address details, and then make a check. That's how you would actually create a new beneficiary within your account. If you've created a new beneficiary and you're ready to submit it for approval, just let's select details here, provide payment reference. If you have it on the bill itself, it will be automatically taken from the bill, or if you don't have it, we just can write it here. Provide a purpose, what should be, why we're paying for such bills. Let's say it will be business expenses, and submit it for approval. Now, automatically and instantly, those people who are involved in the approval process, in that case, that will be me, they will receive an email notification from us, or they will receive a push notification on their mobile phone, which will include all the details about what we're actually approving. So let's say we're going to take a look on what's the beneficiary details here. We have our purpose. We can see which bills are actually included into this approval workflow. And moreover, we can only include bills that were already approved previously. So you won't be able to include bills that are still pending approval. These are only bills that you've already approved. And if you are happy with what you're seeing, if you're ready to approve such batch payment, click on approve. Now it goes to the next step. Since I'm one of the payers, now I will find a button called Pay with Airwallex. And if I'm ready to pay it, just click on Pay with Airwallex. It will show me available balance. If I'm able to pay it here, and I can see that I have balance for that transaction, I will confirm a payment. I will include two-factor authentication. In just a second, it will be in a moment. All right. And now this payment is being processed by Airwallex. Once it is all done, you will find what's the status of that transaction. So far, it's in processing. And you'll also find that there is an audit report, which will show you, well, it takes a couple of seconds to generate one, which will show you who made the actual decision and why they made it. Let's see if it's already here. It takes a bit more seconds than I thought. Anyway, while it's generating, I will show that to you on the other example. Here, I already got the batch payment that I've already sent for approval. It's already being paid. I've got this audit report here. And if I'll take a look inside, I can see who made the actual decision, why they've made it, and when they've made it. So for each transaction that you're approving, we will be generating such audit reports. Moreover, you will find links to both your Airwallex account. So if you have access to your Airwallex, you'll be able to take a look on that over there, and also into your Xero in case you want to reconcile it there. So you have clear understanding of who made the decision, and you can build up reports based on all of the information provided to you within just one platform. So you don't need to switch your platforms to make the actual payment. Everything could be done within one place. So that's in a nutshell the way this integration works. Let me stop sharing the screen so Chloe can take over.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that demo, Alex. I know it's a really exciting piece of technology, and it's just amazing that you can do all of that from in the one platform. Okay, thank you so much. So thank you so much for everyone for attending today. We really would love to encourage you to contact us if you are interested in trying payments with Airwallex in ApprovalMax to streamline your accounts payable processes. If you're already an Airwallex customer, make sure you contact us at ApprovalMax, and vice versa. If you're an ApprovalMax customer, make sure you reach out to James at Airwallex. If you're not a customer of either of us, please contact both of us so we can ensure that we get the ball rolling for you and so you can get set up and try this integration. All right, so we're ready to move into our live Q&A.
I see some of the questions were already answered by the support team. Thank you very much, team.
Great.
I think,
Joe, I'm interested.
Chloe, Alex, just to summarize a few things from Airwallex perspective, just to reiterate, for any client that's using the integration, they do need to be a client of us. In terms of that process, following this, happy to, for any direct clients or even accountants that are maybe doing it on behalf of clients, we have firstly an accounting program. So an accountant can manage a client's account remotely. You're able to onboard and manage on an ongoing basis. But in terms of onboarding, happy to run any demos, talk through the product, talk through the specific use case. And from a KYC perspective, there's an online application, which we can send you a special ApprovalMax link just to ensure that it's done quickly. That'll take generally 3 to 5 days to onboard. And then we'll always do an introductory demo just to make sure that you're across the product, across the integration. And Alex, I'm sure that we're able to run this demo in a bit more detail just to ensure that every client is using it to its full potential.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying all of that information, James. And of course, if you have any further questions regarding the sign up, feel free to reach out to either of us or all of us after this webinar. All right, Alex and James, I might read out a couple of questions that our support team haven't answered yet, and both of you feel free to jump in depending on who's got the answer. All right, so we've got a question from Pete. Can you scan the bank details from the invoices when you move the payment screen?
I'm not sure.
Probably I could answer. Yeah, I'm just writing now. Yeah, so actually it's not applicable right now. So the only way to create beneficiary and take bank details from the bill is to copy and paste it. But some OCR tools are under our consideration. So probably it will be implemented. But again, so far only copy and paste.
Sure. I can see a question from Jono. How far off is this being available in Australia? As of today, the integration is only applicable for UK clients. So for a UK business here onboarded with Airwallex. However, it will be definitely expanded once we're able to. But just for the moment, it's just UK. And then to Joe's question, in EU and US, it will be on the roadmap, but in the initial stages, it's just for UK businesses.
Great. We've got another question. Is the solution workable with Odoo? I'm not sure I know what that is. Are either of you able to clarify what that app is? And I don't think that we do work with them though at the moment.
Yes, for now, the solution is only for Xero and it's only for the UK market. Later on, hopefully, it will be available for any other accounting platforms. But for now, it is only ApprovalMax to Airwallex to Xero.
Great. Thanks for that. So we've got a question from Sarah. She's asked, is there security around supplier bank details being securely entered and a restriction around altering details? Or if amended, does it have to go through an approval step?
Well, the main security measure would be that by default, our users, they cannot change and then they cannot create new beneficiaries in the first place. So you can only assign that to the users who has specific access, and you can specify who would be that person to create new beneficiaries. So that will be the main part of it. Not everyone by default can create new beneficiaries. There is also, we're working on the solution to provide an additional notification showing you that if the changes were made or if the new beneficiary was created, then you can find the flag. But it's still in the work, but for now, the best way would be just to give access to those people who has trust to create new beneficiaries.
Perfect.
Let me add a couple of points about the security part that also 2FA must be enabled for beneficiary creation as for payment creation. It's another level of security. And yep, actually, we already have some checks when we compare that nothing was edited in Airwallex related to the bank details. And if it was edited during the approval process, we won't allow to send these payments. So, yep, that's what I wanted to. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Anton.
I can see quite a question from Nick around future dating payments. Within Airwallex, just to touch on one thing, we do have different approval layers, if you like. So a finance person can come in, execute a payment or set up a draft payment, and then that will go to the final sign off for approval. And you can future date approvals within Airwallex, or sorry, future date payments. But I'm not sure that would be something that we can do on the ApprovalMax side for the integration, Alex.
Once again, on
the future date payments.
For now, well, within the Airwallex integration, once you click on just pay with Airwallex, that's when the actual transaction is happening. So yeah, you can pretty much schedule your payments whenever you want. So you'll be just sitting in the requires my decision screen, and whenever you think you want to make the actual payment, then just click pay with Airwallex and the payment will be sent. I see that there is another question regarding the notifications, sort of contradicts with what goes alongside with what we just said. Will the approver be getting a notification for them to be able to approve once the accountant sets up the payment batch? So yes, in ApprovalMax, you have different layers of notifications. First of all, you can enable an instant notification for every time something requires your decision. You can turn them off. You can enable a summary of pending approvals, and you can decide on which dates you should be and what time you should be receiving such pending approvals notifications, which will show you what's exactly awaiting your approval. And most importantly, let's say you would like all of your bills to be paid once a month. You can create a report within ApprovalMax itself, which will show you which bills are still on approval. You can decide on the date and time when you would like this report to be generated and sent over to your email box. So then you can just simply log into your account, make the payment, and we're done. So you have many different ways how you can manage your notifications within ApprovalMax.
Perfect.
I see we have lots of questions about are we going to send recording of this webinar and the presentation? Yes, we will. To all the attendees, you will receive a link to the recording. If I'm not mistaken, exactly in 24 hours, but maybe even earlier than that.
Yes, that's right. We'll be sending the recording out to all of you following the end of the webinar. You might even want to share it with some of your team after attending today. So feel free to invite them along to watch it on demand.
I see there is one question. Can you do a demo at some point to illustrate that? That sounds cool. I believe you're referring to the notification side of the things. Let me actually do the following. I'll send my email into chat so you can find it over there. Feel free to write me an email. I'll send you my Calendly link and we can book a meeting to go through the whole process from the very beginning and maybe tailor demo to your very specific needs. So you will see how to set up the account and how to actually create integration between us and Airwallex and how to set up your reports and your notifications. So we can do all of those things on one-on-one meeting.
Yeah, great idea, Alex. I've just also done my email there as well. So happy to run through.
Oh, James, just one thing. You send it to host and panelists. I will copy and paste that to everyone. Now it's available for everyone.
Excellent. Yeah, feel free to reach out.
Perfect. So did we answer Jonathan's question? He's got a question around bank details. Does it allow for intermediary banks where additional information usually gets added in a details box?
Intermediary banks where additional. Good question. Probably one we can follow up on. In 9 times out of 10, we'll be able to use the local payment methods. So it will just be the beneficiary's bank details that we need. So even though it's a UK business sending funds to the US, we're using the local US method, which largely means we don't need intermediary banks along the way. But we can come back to you on that.
Perfect. All right, so we'll just do a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up this session. We'll move on to another one. We've got one from Pete. Will the approver be getting, actually, I think we might have already answered this.
I've covered that already.
Oh, we answered a similar one, sorry. So yes, they're all getting notifications. That's one of the amazing benefits of ApprovalMax. People love our notifications. And great, just one more from Jono. So if we have a UK business that is a parent company to an Australian company and both bank with Airwallex, can we use this through both companies or just the UK company?
So it would just be the UK business that we're able to set this integration up for. But great to see they're already a client, which we can hopefully get a quick win with. But the Australian business is not yet live. It is something that we will be rolling it out eventually.
James, would the UK business be able to pay the Australian business though with the current integration? They'd be able to move money across? Yeah,
absolutely. So if a UK business has payments going out to Australia and in various other countries, the batch payment is definitely set up for that. I think, touching on the real value of Airwallex, that's where we're able to execute these international payments a lot faster, a lot more cost effectively. And so, yeah, for international batch payments, it's absolutely ready to go.
It's just a matter that we need to differentiate. One is the integration part, and that can only be done with the UK companies. The other part is the actual transfer of the money that could be done globally, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for everyone for attending. We might wrap up the session there. If there's any other questions that are coming through, we will make sure that we answer them via email, if not our support teams. I think getting on a couple of last ones that are coming through now. So thank you so much for attending today. Thank you so much, James, for joining us to discuss our new integration with you guys. We're so excited. And Alex, of course, thank you so much for giving us one of your very professional demos. We all love an Alex Kesselman demo. And we really appreciate your time today as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Great to chat.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Kai.